just a hack. It's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone and Sean Anderson, two former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. Today we've got a special show for you. We're going to be getting into the breakdown of our FCS stats poll ballots and explaining our reasoning. You're going to end up hearing me explain that a second time because we taped that last week. But we want to put on the beginning of this show very important results, Sean. We want to share the results that came from the voting for our 2023 FCS football road trip. You excited?
I am.
You excited?
Also, I will say, and this is just a little tease, for the second half of the show, somebody ended up putting out their ballot that I may have yelled at. So I might be feeling a little differently than I do now.
Dustin put out his ballot. Like we said we said that on the mailbag that you gave Dustin a hard time.
And I stand by it.
I don't think it was that hard.
stand by it. But I was happy to see that he put out his 25, even though he still said, I don't really believe in this. I'm like, okay, but I did see it. So I want to make a statement, but not a retraction, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. I'll pull up his ballot later. It's not a retraction, but I understand.
I just want, just so people don't think that I didn't see it. I saw it. I did.
Okay.
And people are being active about what we're seeing recently. The vote, the tweet.
Yes.
You know what? Thank you to the FCS listeners, those that have followed, put in their votes, rallied the troops. It was fantastic this year. And I know Joe has the numbers and Joe can provide more insight. But it's not as fun to be sincere and thanking people as it is to trash the hacks, which we will do. But
yes. Let me get into it.
Off the top, thank you all for voting. It was spectacular this year.
So for those that are new to this, we every single year now, this is the third year that we've done this. The plan is to attend a FCS football game and to go. And we don't want to just randomly pick a game. I don't think that's fun. It's stupid to do it that way. We want to let the listeners of the show help us pick. And we had a ridiculous turnout, like an insane turnout. We more than doubled the amount of votes that we had last year. More than doubled. We had a ridiculous increase in the amount of views on the tweet, the amount of interactions in the tweet, and then just generally the amount of votes that came from the voting tweet itself. So massive thank you to everybody. I'm going to go through the results and share how this went down and where we're going to end up going, starting from the bottom.
Okay. And I don't know the results, but
okay.
I know some teams.
You can assume.
I know some teams that were receiving votes, which made me a little bit nervous.
Starting at the bottom with like very small amounts of votes, just to share some of the people that did chime in that we're recognizing. Furman, Fordham, Delaware, Stephen F. Austin, Eastern Washington, Mercer, Lehigh, Kennesaw State, FAMU, VMI, North Dakota, Charleston Southern, Drake, Alcorn State, Yale, Texas State, Tennessee State, SEMO, West Carolina, Incarnate Word, UC Davis, NC-A&T, Utah Tech, Eastern Kentucky are that grouping of just small votes, did get some recognition, and we appreciate those fan bases for showing up. This is the ascending order for 14 and up. In 14th place, we had Northern Arizona. Northwestern State had an interestingly sized representation, the school of Coach Orgeron. Montana State was very underwhelming.
Always have been. We can't tap in over there. For some reason, we can't tap in.
They didn't. Well, we have a lot of Montana State fans. That's the weird thing. We didn't even register 1% of the vote for Montana State. Rhode Island, I am insanely disappointed, came in.
We actually got the
11.
vote this year, though. The first 2 years, we didn't get one vote for Rhode Island.
So Thor Bjorn, the athletic director, had said that, he commented and like you boys need to come home kind of thing, which I thought was nice. I DM'd Donato Crisanti, the starting long snapper, who is, I'm probably mispronouncing his name. I don't care. Close with him. We talk very often. I said, go get the team to go vote on this. Not a single damn person. He didn't even comment, which sucks. I'm not going to a Rhode Island game now that I know that they don't care. Central Arkansas finished ahead of them. University of Northern Colorado, Montana finished ahead of Montana State, which is surprising. South Dakota. William and Mary had a nice turnout. Feels nice to be wanted by a CAA team. Sac State, some nice voting. Villanova got a nice pull from Ryan's comment, which was Ryan's texted me. He texted me just out of nowhere. He's like, random question. He says, what's the one state that you most want to go to and least want to go to? And I responded. He's like, okay, I'm going to make sure I find a team in that state that you don't want to go to. I think I said Kentucky was what I said.
What number are we at right now for Villanova?
They finished in fourth. Idaho came in third. They had 8% of the vote.
Hey, Chris Hammond, what happened, pal?
I really thought that
I thought it was the year.
Wait. Here is part of my theory. I think everybody was so distracted by the team that came in second that there was not able to be a conjoined effort by Idaho.
They Bernie versus Hillary themselves.
There was a very active and cohesive effort by the first place team that nothing was going to stop them. But second and third place, the idiocy of the second place team disrupted the possibility, I think, of the Idaho fans of being able to rally, because there's a lot of Idaho fans that are part of the FCS Fan Nation crew. And I would have thought that they were going to, and they did come in. They came in with a lot of
Rack
votes.
Was really trying hard. Rack was
trying to get Mark Schlereth.
Mark Schlereth to try to get a vote.
I got such a laugh out of that. At the end of the day, I'm like, what? We called him Stink too, which was like, okay. Second place, as we've alluded to, was Houston Christian. Now, I thought the bit was funny. I thought it was a good bit. I was actually kind of rooting for the fact that I wanted to watch the game from outside that CVS. Damn it! I was
fantastic.
I was gonna buy 2 beach chairs at the CVS, and I was gonna sit down outside of the stadium and watch that game without alcohol. We would have had a pregame before the game, and we would have been the only 2 people at the Houston Christian game outside of the CVS.
Sure,
that's all your fault.
I know. You know what? For as many bad bits as there can be good bits. And I thought that the FCS community rallying around the Houston Christian bit was just it was good. It was good. And then turned weird. Bad bits came from it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Credit to Colin and Kyler for indirectly, but also work together to build up this massive voting for Houston Christian. The bad bit you're talking about, the fake DM screenshot that I talked to Kyler. I was a little mad about it. I talked to him. He was very understanding. He was willing to take it down. It was no problem. We're all good there. I thought my reasoning was fine for that, by the way.
I agree.
To address this.
I just acknowledging
it's a slippery slope. Don't need people making fake DMs for me throughout the entire season. Like it's very easy to go one step too far for something like that. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Our first place team, where we are going to be going, Sean, we will be returning to South Dakota State. Now, I realize now that I'm going to have ended up tweeted out that South Dakota State won. So no one's surprised by these results. We are going to be going back to South Dakota State. It doesn't sound like we can make it to South Dakota State, Montana State, because I looked. It is sold out from what we've heard from other people. I think that we will probably be going to the marker game again, if I were to guess, because there's still tickets available.
That would kick some ass. South Dakota State was fun. They might need to have a 2-year. It's not a suspension, but a break, because they.
No.
I thought it was a 2-year originally, but it was a 1 year. But they've gone twice. They've gone every time they've been eligible. They've won.
I would argue, actually, I think that we should alter the rule that there should be no yearly hiatus. Because first of all, Campbell didn't even show up this year. We didn't even specify that they couldn't vote. They didn't.
But
we're
even still talking about it, though. I think the Campbell trip, I'm starting to look back at more fondly.
My point is the performance of the voting exploded because we allowed South Dakota State to participate. And maybe by letting them participate every single year, it will increase the competitiveness of other fan bases. Maybe Idaho fan bases, the fan base took it a little too for granted. Their voting, actually, Idaho's voting, would have won them the vote if this was still the first year.
Mm.
If that was year one, they easily surpassed South Dakota State from 2021. But because of the 62% of the votes came from South Dakota State.
Jeez.
62%.
Yeah, they went bonkers. And I enjoyed going to South Dakota State the first time. There were parts that were interesting. I'm excited to go back. Maybe we'll meet some more new people this upcoming visit. But boy, it was a fun trip the first time, and I expect it wholeheartedly to be a blast again. So excited about it. I hope we get the same Airbnb. I hope we
I texted you. It's available. I immediately recognized the pictures of the Airbnb, and it's the same price as it was last time.
Do you think they'll be concerned? Do you think the Airbnb owners will be concerned?
I don't think we should remind them that we're the same people unless they bring it up.
I'd wager that they definitely remember.
We'll see. Here's the other aspect of this, and we're going to get to our ballot breakdown show in a quick second. I was thinking about this. So the flight from in and out of Sioux Falls is an S show. It's doable, but we're going to have to connect. And the flights out in the morning are not at great times, which we're going to have to figure out. Do we, for the sake of the trip, for the sake of the fact that we've already done this before, should we do the 3-hour drive again?
3 hour?
It was 3 hours last time. It was
longer than 3.
It was 3.
Oh, it was every bit of 4. You don't remember. If you drive again, I'm down. I'm down.
What, you really don't? You want me driving? I got us pulled over.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Back. All right, we'll figure it out.
Where'd we fly into? Milwaukee? Minneapolis?
Oh my God, Milwaukee would be far as hell.
No, it was Minneapolis.
Yeah. It was suggested to us to do Omaha, but Omaha we have to connect. So like it's like we'll just do Sioux Falls if we're gonna do that. We'll figure it out. Maybe we just do Sioux Falls and make it a little bit easier for us.
Maybe we should start doing the vote a little bit earlier next year.
Why? I don't know. The flight prices are fine. If we book it now, they're only in that like $400 range, which is standard for a flight to the middle of the country. That's normal.
I'm down. I've recently booked 4 flights, so I have a little flight fatigue. But yes, I'm excited. I didn't mind driving in the car with you. I didn't. So the DMs that come in during the mailbag, what's the situation? What's it like? I don't know. We listen to music. We yell at each other. We call people. Yeah. It's always good. So excited for sure.
All right, we're coming back, Brookings. We've got a lot planned.
Get ready
for 2 idiots to.
Oh God, yeah, jeez.
To pass out in your. Oh wait. By the way, last thing I have to say before we get to the ballot stuff, because we are now members of the stats poll, we're allowed to come tailgate. I don't see there any reason why we can't come and do that stuff. But I would feel that it is unethical for us to accept any special treatment. So like if somebody gave us tickets, like we can't do that again. The Chad and Brendan were extremely generous and gave us tickets the first year. I don't think that we can do anything like that this year. We can't accept anything free. Absolutely going to come tailgate. Absolutely going to come drink with people and have a good time on Saturday. But I think that just has to be reiterated.
Right. Yeah. We will get our tickets. We will get our lodging. We will take care of that. But I will be taking free Chislik. I will be taking
free
brisket and free booze. And that is what I will be taking.
All right, folks, enjoy this breakdown that we have for our stats ballots, and we will see you folks in November in Brookings for the marker game. Make sure you check out Bet Online for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. Today is the beginning of what is going to be an extra show, an extra series that we will do throughout the FCS season here in 2023. And that is going to be discussing and sharing what we put on our ballot for the STATS FCS poll. Now that we're members of the vote amongst the very prestigious grouping, we're going to be sharing who we picked on Twitter each week, but we're also going to take the time, take about like 20 minutes, an extra bonus episode, if you will, to talk about our reasoning and why we place certain teams in certain locations. It's not going to be crazy in depth. We're not going to sit here and spend 5 minutes per team and go super nitty gritty, but it's a way for us to respond to maybe some of the comments that we've gotten. Now, one of us got a lot of comments that I don't know if he could respond to, and one of the other of us got some constructive comments, and I think it sparked some good conversations. I'll let our listeners figure out who is who.
Dude, you got a harsh one though. There was some guy that I think is like 12,000 followers that just said this poll sucks or something like that. I think he works in media. He responded to yours. I'm like, that's a little harsh. Maybe you know the guy. Maybe you're cool with him.
Oh, that was Keegan. No. That's
okay.
Keegan's not serious. I
didn't know that.
Keegan.
I'm like, why is this guy killing Chuck? I just didn't know.
No, I know what happened. Sean was getting eviscerated for putting the wrong name for Houston Baptist, and he went through my comments. He's like, "Oh, John's getting picked apart. It's okay." No,
because you released yours first. I looked through your comments first, and I looked at it. I'm like, "Who is this?"
I had a lot better.
I get protective of you, okay? So pardon me. I get a little protective of my buddy.
Where were you during the Stetson Bennett debacle?
Well, I disagree with the Stetson Bennett debacle.
I held my own on that day. That comment that I had, that one comment.
I'm proud of you, man.
Regardless, though, we're in it. We like to fight with people, so we're here to defend ourselves. No, in all seriousness, we just want to talk about it. And I think some people would love to hear our thoughts now that we're a part of the ballot. So I'm going to start us off, Sean, by going through mine and just sharing some comments and thoughts on why I place certain guys or certain teams in certain places. Starting off, I had South Dakota State number 1. I understand that Stiegelmeier's gone, but with all of the veteran players coming back, I am giving them the benefit of the doubt. Their quarterback, their running back, who were elite players last year, a bunch of their offensive linemen, a bunch of their defensive players, 2 of their best receivers that are twins are coming back. Like, I can't bet against that much veteran leadership coming back. Nobody should have a problem with that. And I think a lot of people are going to be putting South Dakota State at the number 1 spot. I went with it number 2, and I think this is where the first disagreement was from a lot of listeners and FCS fans, was that I went Montana State at 2 and North Dakota State at 3. I put North Dakota State at 2 because of the double-headed monster of Sean Chambers and Malott that have been just so hard to stop. And they were in just a bulldozing path at the end of the season. And had they not had to have faced South Dakota State, I think many would have argued that it would have been a South Dakota State, Montana State national championship game had there not been a favorable placement for the seeds last year. I put North Dakota State here at 3 because I'm being honest with myself on this team has lost a lot. Cody Mock is gone. Other defensive players are gone. And their starting quarterback, there is a lot of uncertainty. Cam Miller can be a really good football player, but he did not show me enough of that last year. I am legitimately very worried about this quarterback situation. If he takes that step forward, they can be the best team in the country. But he really struggled in important games where he needed to step up. Just like how Alabama this year has so much uncertainty on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit and pick Alabama to be number 1 when they have question marks. Can they, if everything works, they be the best team in the country? Absolutely. So I'm not going to do that with North Dakota State. Sac State at number 4. I think a lot of people are just assuming that Troy Taylor's gone, that they're going to stink. And I know that they lost some players. Carson Camp coming in, who was one of the best FCS quarterbacks on a okay roster. He is going to be a really good player this year. And I also think that Marcus Fulcher, who's their starting running back, I know that Cam Skedebo is gone. I think that Fulcher is going to have an even bigger year than what Skedebo had last year. So good team. Most of the coaching staff came back. William & Mary at number 5, the most well-rounded roster in the CAA. And if you have the most well-rounded roster in the CAA, you're going to be ranked in the top 5. You deserve to be there. I know that they got their asses waxed when they played Montana State in the playoff. That was a hellish game that they had to go through.
It was bad. And I received some of that also
bad
on my end. But you know what? They ran into the buzzsaw. And that doesn't mean that William & Mary can't be a buzzsaw this year, because I had them ranked high as well. And they have stars on offense and defense. And they just retain, and they've built something there. I mean, John Pui is a stud. They got a good offensive line. They're just a talented crew. And then they're just the best team in the CAA going into the season.
Yeah, Lynn and Pui are 2 fantastic defensive players, and I am recognizing that, and good defense is important in the FCS. Idaho at number 6, I was surprised that I thought more people were going to be like, wow, you've Idaho too high.
Yeah. Someone actually told me I had Idaho too high, and I had them at 17. I'm like, hey, you want to see my buddy's ballot? He's got him at 6.
Well, but what happened is all the Idaho fans were like, why don't you have him higher? I'm like, what? Way. You guys the benefit of the doubt. I think that Idaho is going to be really good this year, and I love Giovanni McCoy, and I think Coach Eck has this team just riding in the right direction. But come on now, we gotta be a little realistic. But I'm high on them, and then just kind of pushing through this kind of big chunk middle stretch I have right here. UNH. Josiah Silver, and then Ruiz, I believe, is their other defensive lineman. I'm going to double check that. I'm completely blanking on his name. Again, another team, well-rounded roster. I'm never going to count out UNH, but they're probably going to fall short in the playoffs. I put them there at number 8. Holy Cross, we know who they are at number 7. Their Sluke is coming back, which is super important. Furman, number 9. I like Furman. They're fine. I'm sure the Furman fans are going to be pissed off that I didn't put them higher because they think I'm the biggest Furman hater on this planet. But
I don't get that. See, you and purple
yes.
teams, man. I don't know what that is.
I hate purple teams. Montana, number 10. I'm never going to discount what Montana can do. I think that they've got a lot to prove, but they've got some big bodies on that offensive line and that defensive line, which I love. Sanford, number 11. Michael Ayers is one of the best players in the FCS coming back. He is going to be a Walter Payton finalist, I believe, this year because he is that good of a player. You and I, super high on Theo Day, also super high on that coaching staff regardless, that I think that they're going to continue to be what we're used to seeing them be. Weber State at 13, Delaware at 14, SEMO at 15. Side note here on SEMO. I think that SEMO deserves more love for how good this roster is. There's some NFL guys on that team. NFL guys, their starting center is pretty good.
It's a good team.
I like SEMO. Incarnate Word at 16 was one team that I got some pushback on. Them losing Lindsey Scott and GJ Kinney is going to be tough for them. I think Zach Calzada is a good quarterback, and I'm high on him to be a good FCS quarterback, but we got to temper our expectations when you're replacing as much as they're replacing. Southeastern Louisiana is then at 17, Chattanooga at 18. I love Elam Ford. I think that's a fair spot to put them for an average conference that they're playing in. NC Central won the Celebration Bowl, which was a huge accomplishment, and I think that they're going to continue to ride that momentum. URI at 21. Colin jokingly said that I could have put them higher, but they did lose some guys in the portal, but they do bring back a lot of important veteran players, including Kasim Hill. And then final stretch here, EKU, UT Martin, a lot of good defensive players on that team. Florida A&M. I know that they had their whole the whole rap thing where they had to shut down the program for a couple of days, but still really good roster, really good football program. And then lastly at number 25, I have Yale because I love their offensive line. Potentially multiple NFL bodies on that offensive line. At least one with Kiram Ademeji, who we talked about. on our offensive line show.
Yeah, I think
Sean, any takeaways on that?
I think you put together a pretty solid top 25 bracket, and I hate saying it, but I really think that you did. You had Holy Cross higher than me, which is a little baffling. I didn't know you were going to think that much of Saluka, given your sordid history with their fandom. But it seems like you started crediting them, which was good.
Well, I'd be a really big hack if I didn't put them in that like top
I
seven.
The Chattanooga pick I really like. I had them higher, but I think Chattanooga has been a team that has been cultivating really good players recently. Their offensive line always has a dude, and it's not just because I went there, but Rhode Island's offensive line always has a dude that ends up going to the next level.
2 dudes this year.
Yeah, so when you have a program that's starting to develop, okay, you got a good offensive line, but you got one guy that is going. That's a good starting point for the rest of your program. So I'm happy with Chattanooga. That's why they made their spot on my list. Other than that, there's not much to that I can really complain about. Samford, I'd like to see. Samford will be a quick addition on mine if through their first 2 games. I understand they will be a quick addition. If you
put, I'm getting ahead of myself. Finish. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. I thought you put together a pretty good poll. I thought your ballot was pretty good, and that's what it was.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Of course.
Sean, can I need to, I'm sorry. I know that you're going to do yours, but like, I am saying this as respectfully as possible, but what the hell is this? I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, you have a really good ballot, but then there's 2 things in here that I'm just like, why did you put them in here?
Of course,
you would have been, if you had released this and didn't put 2 teams in here, and the ones that I'm talking about, no one would have batted an eye, and I don't think anyone would have disagreed with you. But you put 2 teams in here that didn't belong in here. I'm sorry. I'm being an ass.
No.
I'm being an ass. I'm trying not to be an ass.
You're being fair because this is college football discourse. This is what it is. Everybody can't think the same way. Everybody doesn't construct their ballot the same way. And I think that for all of the ballot voters, everybody's going to have 20 teams across every ballot. 20 teams are going to be the same. Took a different route because I know there's going to be different teams. I know there's going to be 2 teams that come out of nowhere. We're like, damn, where'd they come from? I didn't expect them in my top 5. So as I've explained to other people, before I've even explained this to you, took a couple chances. Like what I saw over the offseason with a couple teams, like what I saw from media days specifically from one team and one new coach. So I made some additions, but I'll run through it. My top 10, pretty underwhelming because it's a boilerplate top 10. South Dakota State, yeah. Montana State, 2. They're good and they're well coached. And William & Mary, 3, and North Dakota State, 4, which I got a little pushback for, but it is what it is. I think I'm just high on William & Mary, and that's just what I am. 5, Sacramento State, share similar sentiments. 6, Montana. It's a bummer that their starting tight end went down, but I still think that they have.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
I didn't even see that.
It's a bummer. I think that the Sean
Cook,
the guy I talked about, I'm blanking on his name, but I talked about him in the tight end preview show, and then
it's not DeLeone Cook.
No, and then he gets hurt, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I could talk about players anymore because I don't want to jinx them. It is what it is. UNI, I'm high on UNI. They've been kind of like sleepy the last couple years, a little bit sleepy. But I remember what UNI was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I don't want to poke that bear more than necessary. Number 8, Weber, tough as hell. 9, Incarnate Word. 10, Holy Cross, Sluka, big fan of his. I think he's just plays a swagger.
I'm shocked that you are higher or you're lower on them than I was. That was unexpected.
That's what I said. I couldn't believe it. 11, Chattanooga. Aleem Ford was in my in one of the prospect shows. I think he's stellar. 12, Kennesaw State. Force a habit. Strictly just a force a habit brain fart because I'm so used to Kennesaw State being in the top 25. Youngstown. I put Youngstown down low.
Oh, so you moved them out?
Yeah, I think I put Youngstown at like 24, something like that.
I want to address this. Actually, I forgot this was also one of the additional things that led to your questions. I actually will admit I did almost make a similar mistake where I was like, wait, But here's how I made it. I was reading through the materials that Craig gave us of other example top 25s that have been already released.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is Kennesaw not on here? They were a playoff team last year. And then it occurred to me, oh, they are not eligible because of their transition. And I admittedly, I knew that they're moving up. I did not know what their timeline was. So that one's understandable. I don't think it's fair to give you shit for that. Like, I really don't think it is, because it's such a, unless you're in the weeds and you're an athletic director or you work in athletic administration, or you're like a really nose to the ground journalist, like, you're not going to know the exact timeline for teams when they move up. And when the season's kicking right around, like, you're going to miss stuff like that. So again, I don't think that criticism was fair.
And then I knew all that, familiar with their move up, and then I communicated with Craig on that, and Jamie thinks I blew some cover. I didn't. I just had a brain fart. And Craig was like, "Oh yeah, that shouldn't have even been on the official ballot website." And then it got removed, and they fixed the widget, and everything's cool. Number 13, Sela. I think they're or Southeastern Louisiana. People might not know what Sela is, but going with them at 13. 14, Furman. Solid team, always have been solid. I'm not going to hit on them like Joe. 15, UNH. I think I called them fruit flies last year, where you just can't get rid of them, and then they just continue. The more you swat at them, the more they multiply. It's just a frustration of having to put them on here, but they've garnered enough respect for me, even in coaching turnover, for me to respect that. 16, Eastern Washington. 17, Idaho. Idaho's a good team. 18, SEMO. Well-constructed roster, good veteran leadership. 19, Jackson State. I went with Jackson State, and I got a good amount of pushback for this one.
Yeah,
I know Coach Prime left. I explained on Twitter that I believe that Jackson State did great things with Coach Prime, and I know they had Travis Hunter and the Sanderses, and they had a lot of players, and a lot of players left. But if you're able to do great things with one coach, and I know you're going to give me the Bill Walsh thing, and that's fair if you give me the Bill Walsh thing. If you could do that once, you can do it again. And North Carolina Central fans were very upset, and then I gave them an example of, hey, North Carolina Central is kind of like Maine. They have the same amount of wins since 2017, but they won a conference championship. They won the big one year, and then they were 6-6 the next year. Maine was. So if they do it again, sure, then it'll look different, and I'll be eating my own foot for dinner late November. But right now, I'm not concerned about that. I'm not. Repeat it and make me believe it. Number 20, Houston Baptist. This is Houston Christian. Two things on this. Took a chance on the team. I like the coach Braxton Harris, came from Campbell, and no one's going to look me in my eyes and tell me Campbell didn't have upward momentum the years that he was there. They did. They recruited their asses off. They got good players, and they developed a good culture. You bring him in to be the new coach, the second coach in history. I love the way that he spoke in media days. I like what I've been seeing from the team. So it's a team that I took a chance on to end up being in the top 25, and that's what it was. It was a chance. I took a flyer on Houston Christian, and people are giving me guff about calling it HBU still. Tell me you don't still call the Chargers from San Diego. Tell me you don't slip and say the Cleveland Indians or the Washington Redskins every now and then. Teams.
What was it on the ballot?
I think it was HCU, and I just tweeted out HBU just out of a force of habit. So if that's, I'm fine with people critiquing it for the competency of the pick, thinking I'm doing a bit. I do a lot of bits. People thinking I'm dumb. Sure, those are fine. But if it's just strictly clowning me for putting in HBU instead of HCU, talk about the Chargers 50 times, 25 times you'll say they're from San Diego. They're in LA now. Same thing with the Raiders. I bet we hear a broadcaster in a pro game say the Oakland Raiders. Oh, my bad. The Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, I'm Al Michaels. So that's just what it is. I know people can have issue with that. 21, Campbell. 22. Campbell's going to be tough. I didn't even realize
Campbell made it on here.
Campbell's going to be tough because they're moving into the CAA. So good luck.
Sean, they're going to get waxed in the CAA.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
You put Campbell ahead of you put him ahead of URI.
Yeah, let's see.
We watched Campbell in person. That is not a rank.
I'm not going to jinx the boys.
Okay. You can't be voting because it's that way.
Of course.
You can't vote that way.
Of course not, okay. Joe. Number 22, Austin P. Number 23, URI. Number 24, Duquesne. Another Flyer school. Last year was the first year they went under 500. I think since 2012. So I'm taking a flyer out on them. They're not in a tough conference. Look, if somebody can tell me that they're not the favorite, fine. But their conference is cakewalk. It's cupcake conference. Anybody can win cupcake conference. So I took Duquesne, 25 Yale. And my final point here, and I'm fine with the criticism and I'm fine with people saying whatever they're going to say. I'm not cool with one thing. I'm not cool with Dustin Helton. I'm not.
What did he say?
Dustin Helton pulled an incredibly hack move. I mean, hack as hack can be. He pulled a holier than thou, cooler than thou move, and then pulled a hypocrite move also. Dustin Helton, I couldn't believe did this because I like Dustin. I've respected Dustin. I think he's good for the FCS landscape. But he said this. Here's my preseason top 25 poll. Number 1, SDSU. And then 2 through 10, wait until week 5 so there's data of how the season has gone so you can 11 through 25 rank teams based on results and not assumptions. Okay. If you're going to do that, Dustin, you can't react to other people's top 25s. You can't do that, you hack. You can't. You can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say it doesn't matter and then chirp me or Joe or Jamie or any of the other voters that decide to put their ballots out there. If Sam Herder puts it out there and you're upset where our incarnate word is, you can't say anything because you have deemed it to not matter. Hack move. And that's just where I'm at. And if I'm being harsh, I'm being harsh. And I love Dustin Helton, and that's just what I see it as. I see it as this, okay, and he's just playing fun, and it's all playing fun. That's a bad bit. It's a bad bit, and it's a bad bit if you're doing it at the NFL level, if you're doing it with NBA preseason rankings, college basketball preseason rankings, to say they don't matter. It's like people who say that grading an NFL draft after it's completed doesn't matter. And then they critique the draft picks. It does matter. And if it doesn't matter to you, then let it not matter. You can't have it both ways. Because I know you've seen that in your draft stuff. You've seen people say that, and then you react to it, and you're like, well, then why are you commenting on what grade I gave the Minnesota Vikings?
Okay. Separate from Dustin, here are my thoughts on this. Just a couple things.
Sure.
I don't think William & Mary's better than North Dakota State, nor will they finish there. So I don't like that move up placement. I think you should be higher on Holy Cross. I was surprised by your placement of them. I don't think Eastern Washington. I don't think Eastern Washington should be ranked. I think you had to talk yourself into it and provide way too much of an explanation for Duquesne and Houston Baptist. I think that there are a lot of other more talented teams out there. Sorry, Houston Christian. Houston Christian's going to be a sub 500 team. I'm just guaranteeing that right now. And Duquesne, I don't disagree with the logic. The NEC sucks. I just wouldn't pick a single team from that conference because it's not a competitive conference. It is not it's not going to put out a team that's going to do damage in the playoff. So I'm not going to rank any of them unless they come out and they're, blowing the doors off people and someone gets an FBS upset.
And I think that's fair. I do think that's fair.
I think you put Houston Christian on there because you like Bailey Zappi. I think.
Well, first of all, who doesn't like Bailey Zappi? Who doesn't like him? And also, I didn't put them at 3.
They've never. Okay, but that's where I don't think you're on. That's where I think that I think the logic is flawed.
I took a flyer. I'm taking a flyer on them.
Then put them on there if they have a good start to the season. Don't just.
Oh God.
I don't know anyone. I'm going to be completely blunt. I know a lot of random players I shouldn't know. I did a lot of film study.
Sure.
And this is why anyone who disagrees with my top 25, I push back on them because I have NFL grades on a lot of the guys on a lot of the teams that I put in mind, and my perception was based on who I know has the best rosters. Maybe some of those rosters underperform. We'll see what happens. I don't know anyone on Houston Christian. I don't know a single kid. I don't know a single kid on Duquesne.
All you need to know is that when they're 8-2 at the end of the year, no, I'm playing around. It's a flyer pick.
Need to see something before we
What are you going and checking out?
Their schedule.
Who? Houston Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're pulling it up.
Pull it up.
Oh my God, they do have a cupcake schedule. Okay, so when they lose to Western Kentucky, are you going to keep them in it?
If they lose to Western Kentucky.
When they lose to UT Martin, are you going to keep them in it?
Dude, I'm ready to. They can get bounced. I'm fine. If they get bounced, they get bounced. If they go out there and they piss down their leg and they look bad, then they look bad. But I don't. I genuinely think they can stay competitive. And Duquesne, I made an argument about Duquesne with somebody, and I said this: I think that Delaware might take Duquesne lightly, and if they do, which I expect them to, then it's either going to be closer. You're going to turn that autofocus off. If they keep it closer, I think that'll be a fun game. I think it'll be interesting. I think Duquesne's schedule also cupcake, but it'll be interesting.
Like, all I'm going to say is if Houston Christian doesn't blow out Arkansas Baptist by over 20 points, and if Duquesne doesn't beat Edinburgh,
which I expect them both to,
by more than 20 points, you have to take both of them off.
Oh,
you can't, like, in all seriousness, you can't. I'm praying that they're not still on there. Like, if they only win by like 2 touchdowns, like that's.
I'm subject to change, brother. I'm subject to change. Okay, I think one thing that you and I do is analyze football at a very high level, whether it's games, seasons, how it goes during the season. I think that's the strongest part of this show. So that's what it is. I'm subject to change.
All right.
I think everyone else should be.
Each week we're going to be doing this. This is the preseason version. But every week we're going to do a quick 20-minute pod reacting to our poll. So make sure you're subscribed and you don't miss out. At Joe DeLeone at Sanderson Radio. We'll be back with more. Hit that subscribe button.